Welcome to the Mortgage 101 podcast with Anthony and Manley. Great to have you guys here tonight. Hey, we're talking about volatility happens, but homeownership still wins. We're talking about what's happening in this marketplace and the 5 fears that are going on right now in this market that are holding people back from true homeownership, the true wealth of this nation, which is having a financial, solid piggy bank being your home. The 5 fears are the unknown, the volatility of this market, the housing market, and what is going to happen. Is it going to crash or not? Bond rates and how that affects bonds, how it affects interest rates, and then all the political environment that causes some of the unrest and the knee-jerk reactions in this marketplace. So, Anthony, tell me, my friend, what's the biggest unknown?
How are you, brother? It's good, man. We're on this island while the rest of America is burning to the ground. Uh, wait, that's what it appears to be. But no, man, we're good, man. It's always sunny over here. It's always positive. The glass is always overfilling. And, we make lemonade out of lemons. And so, yeah, I think that intro was perfect about fear, right? Because that is like literally the word of the month. Fear of the unknown, fear of the uncertainty, what's going on with the market, what's going on with the rates, what's going on with America, what's going on with the world, how's it going to affect me? I think we can put some context into that on how it affects mortgages, home loans. And for our viewers out there, maybe we can give them some insight to kind of peel back that uncertainty so that way they can be more calculated, more educated going forward into their home ownership journey.
What we're trying to avoid is a Wisconsin special here. And homeowners insurance, auto insurance, people love it because it's known as a deer in the headlights. There's a white light coming at you, total fear. The deer freezes, gets run over, wipes out the vehicle, and now the insurance guy's mad and all that. If the guy would have just made a decision to go one way or the other, he would have been better off. So the deer in the headlights is real, and we're trying to make sure that our borrowers who are sitting on the sidelines aren't in that paralysis by analysis or deer in the headlights, and make an educated decision on why this is still a great time to purchase, great time to put yourself in the marketplace. And don't fear the unknown. Don't fear the volatility. It's going to happen in every market. Don't fear the housing market. It's not fear the housing market. It's not going to crash. We're not in that scenario that we were in 2008. No way, no how. Don't listen to the media because they're telling you a bunch of nonsense. Rates are going to be what they are. They're not the deal killer. Rates are transient.
No. Yeah, fear sells. I mean, how boring would it be if they're like, oh, like this is how it works. That's, for PBS or that's for a TED Talk. But for latest headlines, they need to instill that fear in you or that uncertainty. It's like the new kid at school. They first show up and they're like, oh my God, all eyes on me. I don't know what's going on. I'm super scared. So we're here to take that new kid and take our viewers to go, it's not as scary as you think. And as long as you know enough to be dangerous, you can tell your Aunt Thelma, no, you're wrong. You can tell your Uncle Sam, you're wrong, because you're basing your life and you're basing your life decisions off of facts and not off of fear. And so, talk to me, Manley. What's the big question here is why is the stock market looking like a tic-tac-toe episode of two inebriated goats? It's just down, up and down, up and down. What's going on with the stock market, Manley? Why is it acting the way it's acting?
Well, the stock market is relative to interest rates. And typically, when the stock market fails, the bond market rises and we get opportunity with lower rates because the bond market and the price of the bond is actually inverse to the yield, is inverse to what happens. And so that drives interest rates down. Well, because of all the uncertainty.
For our clients who don't have PhDs, let me just break that down to what Manley just said. Manley just said that when the stock market starts going down, That's because there's uncertainty. And where do they go when there's uncertainty in the market? They go to safe havens like the bond market, where it's safer to place your money because they don't want to go on that inebriated goat, roller coaster. They want to take their money and put it somewhere safe. And so what you're telling me now, Manly, is there's no runway to be seen on the market because of all the chaos. And so that's why when we see the market go down, we see rates go down.
In normal circumstances, that's true. In this circumstance that we've gone through in the last 2.5 weeks, where the bond market was reacting correctly, the stock market was working its way down, all the tariff news came out, and inflation fears, again, the word fear, jumped out, scared everybody to death. Now the bond market wasn't even the true safe haven. And what people were doing is they were getting margin calls on their stock markets because of the massive drive down. And so when there's massive margin calls, they have to sell the first thing they can sell right away. Stockbrokers, they have to get rid of it. It's due immediately. Not wait till tomorrow, not make a payment like a mortgage or a car payment. You got to pay it now. So the best product that they could sell to liquidate the quickest were bonds. And so when the bonds start flying off the shelf, it affects the yield, drives the yield up, drives the interest rates up. So it did in inverse of what normally would happen, where people are buying bonds because they're fearing the market, they're fearing the stock market, they're buying bonds. And so that drives interest rates down. Opposite happened. They both went simultaneously in a haywire direction. Short lived, everything came crashing down. And it wasn't a doomsday scenario, but it definitely jumped our interest rates, almost a full percent momentarily on Friday, where everybody panicked, doesn't know what's going on. So we got in a fear-driven environment, and the whole, pausing of the tariffs by the president has sort of staved some of that excitement or fear and put us back in an environment that we're going to see rates kind of ooze their way down, grind their way down, so to speak, to where we were before. Rates jump up quick, they grind down slow. So, but what does that all mean to you as somebody trying to get into the market? Should you be focusing on that? Should we let all this fear of what's happening, of the uncontrollable? Can you control that, Anthony? I can't control it. Should that drive your decision on whether I should purchase a house or not? Should I be that panicked that I'm going to end up with, 7.25% rate instead of a 6.75? It changes the monthly payment. It's absolutely true. But at the end of the day, if it's going to take you out of the marketplace altogether, then you are not taking advantage of what's happening out there and the ability to purchase your home, which is going to be your biggest nest egg that you can ever have in your lifetime. That's where your biggest savings account, your piggy bank is going to really sit.
Yeah, and I think what's important here is to understand that you know, the market is the heartbeat of the economy, but there's a lot of different parts of a heart. It's not just the market that's the heartbeat. It's also the GDP or the gross domestic product. It's also, unemployment rate. It's also, if the banks are doing quantitative easing, it's the insolvency. It's, the bond market. It's the Fed rate. It's there's a lot of moving parts. It's not just a one ventricle vessel heart. There's a lot of things going on. And I agree with you. The market has been volatile, and that's because there was a lot of unknowns presented in our current events. And those unknowns are the puppet masters of the economy. And like it or not, America is the key to the rest of the world. If America's not doing good, the rest of the world's not going to be doing good. Why? Because we're a massive consumer. And so when we are the bigger, the big consuming engine on top of the big market engine, and if we're not doing good, that's not good for the rest. So a lot of uncertainty that was put in primarily because of the tariffs that just took the runway out to say, where are we going? And then, like you said, we had a worst case scenario where we had people in the stock market going, I need to put my money somewhere. And then people in the bond market going, I need to take my money out to make these pays. And we saw them both kind of just go up and down, and it was ugly. I think hopefully for the next 90 days, they get their stuff together so that way we can see what the heck's going on. And in my opinion, just to sum up this market, is I think in the next 90 days, we're going to get our sea legs to kind of see what the next 6 months or the end of the year is going to be. And as
Yeah.
long as we can get our act together, at least with all the rest of the countries, China is going to be a different outlier. I think that's
Yep.
going to be a war that's going to be won in years, unless, someone wakes up and goes, okay, let's stop pillaging. But I do think that the next 90 days are going to be pivotal on where our market's going. And that's going to set the precedence and the tone of how the bond market and how the housing market and the rates go. There's one thing I will say is the housing market is still going to keep churning. It's still going to be going forward. It's whether or not you're going to be a participant or not. And, if you're looking to buy within the next 5 years, these next 30, 60, 90 days, in my opinion, will be the most economical. Because, like you said, Manly, we can take off the table that we're going to see massive drops in the appreciation or the value of houses. Why do we know that? Because we know so many households have rates in the twos and threes. We know so many households are swimming with 150% equity than where they were at in 2021. They can lose half their equity and they would still be fine. We know that we're not going to see this exodus of foreclosures and short sales due to the CARES Act. No more can these banks just take they have to give forbearances and deferments and modifications. So we're not going to see this exodus of people becoming, homeowners and renters. We're going to continue to see a disparity of supply and demand. Not enough houses, too many buyers. There's so many buyers right now on the sidelines. And once they start coming off, if you think it's hard to get a house now, wait till you have all your friends and family jumping in the same boat. It's going to be even harder.
You were talking a little bit about the 2008 scenario, which people keep and the media keep referring to, saying, "Oh, we're setting ourselves up for a housing crash again," and the facts just don't line up. There's too many components that are exact opposite of what happened in 2008. In 2008, with the massive foreclosures and the illiquidity, meaning that we couldn't sell all the properties that needed to be sold that went through foreclosure. They couldn't be sold. There weren't buyers. So there was a massive amount of sellers and very few buyers that could even qualify because number one, banks weren't lending much money. Mortgage brokers weren't lending much money. Warehouse lines were being shuttered for mortgage brokers. Today, the complete opposite. We have so many buyers versus sellers. So the inventory is so low and we have just a plethora of buyers. It's the exact opposite. And it's going to be years before that levels and balances itself out. New home construction can't even put a dent in trying to help, you know, soften this blow. It's where we're going to be. And so if interest rates do plummet quickly for whatever reason, which I'm not predicting or saying that it's going to happen like that, but if we get a massive drop in interest rates, say from 6.7 to 5 to below 6%, seeing a 5 handle, it's going to be crazy. Instead of 50 buyers vying for one property today, you're going to see 350 buyers. It's going to be insane. And that's going to drive prices up. And the fight for the single house is going to be really difficult to manage. And that
Yeah, I
we
agree.
had we ended up in that little bit of a scenario in COVID where we had all these buyers and we had all this ability to do it, and homes were being, just flying off the shelf unseen. Like they were doing video tours because you couldn't go and do it. And they were going for 30, 40, $50,000 over ask. And people are like, whoa, this is crazy. Interest rates were super low. So it made up for the gap in that disparity. But the appreciation helped all the things that have happened, we've had appreciation throughout. And we can throw a chart up that people can see that we have that shows you year by year what appreciation look like. And we'll do that for you guys. So that'll come up when we do editing on this great video.
That's well said. And the biggest thing too is, when you're renting, and you're in that warm and fuzzy spot of the unknown not affecting you, it is affecting you because you don't have control over rent going up. You don't have control over being able to, paint that room a certain color because Timmy wants blue. You don't have control over getting a dog because the landlord doesn't want it. You don't have control over anything. You literally are, a yes, sir. Like you just pay me my rent, and then in 5 years, you walk away with a security deposit. Whereas when you own, now every time you pay your mortgage, you're paying down the principal. You're gaining appreciation on the daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. you're having tax incentives. You're getting to be able to write off the interest or the expenses and the taxes and the insurance and all that other good stuff that you don't see if you're a renter. And then if you have someone like Manley or myself, we're going to be knocking on your door every 18 to 24 months going, hey, you done with that house yet? Let's make it a rental. Let's get a bigger one. So that way every, 12, 24, 36 months, you're growing in your portfolio. So that way in 10 years, you look back and you go, man, I got like 5 million in real estate. I got like 5 houses and I got cash flow and I got tax write-offs. It's really simple. And this is what they don't teach you in school. Debt equals income. Income equals debt. What do you mean by that? Every time you make income, what else do you make? You make a tax withheld. What happens when you make a debt? You make a debt position that has revenue streams or itemizations. That's why the big guys always finish first, because if they're making 2 million a year, they're trying to find 2 million in debt to offset the income that they made. So Uncle Sam gets zero. So you have to leverage debt in order to keep all your income. That's the secret. And a lot of people don't understand that. And hopefully now you guys do.
Well said, Anthony. Well said, and right to the point. So let's not beat this dead horse any further. I think we all understand that we're asking you to get off the sidelines, talk to a professional like me or Anthony, and we'll help enlighten you, educate you, and give you the confidence that you need to step forward in this market, even if it's a little scary. With all that being said, what else is going on in your world, Anthony? What's happening out there in Hawaii loan wise?
Loan wise, I mean, we're seeing, there's not a lot of inventory. So people are perplexed, right? Because they're like, this is historically high rates. Where's all the inventory? Well, just like you said, everyone's sitting in rates in the twos and threes. Who the heck would divest on a free money? Because if you got to think, if inflation's 2 and 2.4 and you got a 2.4 rate, it's free money. If it's a 2.4 inflation and you got a 3% rate, you're only paying like 0.6% really. So we're not going to see a movement of inventory until these rates settle down into the fours, mid to upper
Yeah.
fours. We'll see some in the fives. When are we going to see fives? I mean, my golden goose tells me probably in the next 12 to 15 months. When are we going to see fours? Probably in 24 to 36 months. Now, that could completely change because we are the Wild West, shooting by the hips, tariff here, tariff there, tariff everywhere, and we have no idea what is freaking going on. But the good thing,
Yep.
that's transitory. It's not organic. The feds set the rate and they set the precedence on what the economy is going to do. That's a fact. That's organic and that is planned out. The transitory aspect is what's going on globally, geopolitically. It's a wild west out there. We're in new territory. But the good news, when you look behind us, we see nothing but rate increases. When you look in front of us, we see nothing but rate decreases. So
Yep.
I'm not a man of math, but 1 + 1 is 2. And if we have nothing but rate increases in our rearview mirror with rates in the eights, and we have nothing but rate decreases, and right now we're in the sixes, fours and fives is good. And what you don't want to do is wait until your mom, dad, brother, sister, aunt, uncle, nephew get off the sidelines, because we have 3 years of people sitting there. And now you have 50 people wanting the same house. So right now, you can get off the sidelines. You can get the house you want without having to settle. You can get the closing costs from the seller. You can get the rates that's going to be temporary and refinance down the line. So, that's my take on what's going on now. It's just there's no inventory, so we're just waiting
If
for
you have
costs.
if you have 50 people in line right now to buy the same house, when rates go down, you're going to have 150. It's going to be a bloodbath. So that's why this measured pace that's occurring and the slowing down of it to some degree is actually, warranted and needed to make sure that we don't have a free fall of just 500 new buyers in the market for the same house, which will be really bad for the buyers themselves because it will drive prices up and it'll make your offers, which that was my next question. Like, what are you seeing in offers that are being written right now consistently? Are you still seeing home inspections? Are you seeing them being waived? Are you seeing appraisals being waived? Are you still out there fighting to create a cash offer to enlighten and basically make your card, your hands better? So I want to play that full house with my cash offer against the rest of the folks. But this is how I like to say it. But I'm going to really finance it with my pair of twos. So I'm going to bluff you and get it out there, which is perfectly legal. There's nothing wrong with that. But that's the fight that you have to fight today. And you probably have to, out by me, we're waiving inspection right now. And we're getting, the realtors are begging us to waive appraisals. And we're putting appraisal gap coverage in there, meaning like if the property, sold for 500 and we said, the buyer said they'll cover the first $20,000 of appraisal shortfall. That's happening right now. So if the appraisal comes in at 480, the buyer's responsible. If it comes in at 470, there's going to be a conversation about that extra $10,000 between the buyer and the seller. Are you seeing that same kind of stuff?
Yeah, it's when there's not a lot of demand, then you can't have contingencies like that because you got to take what you can get. But once you get a whole bunch of people to the disco, now you can do highest and best and weigh up the contingencies to where, like we saw in 2021 in COVID, people were paying 20, 30, 40, $50,000 over asking because they were locking in a rate in the twos and they knew that in 12 months they would make up that amount. And boy, they did. They made up a whole bunch and they're the smartest people in the room. Whereas before they were looking at them like, what are you doing? I mean, I look at I look at purchasing a home and real estate like dodgeball. You know, Dodgeball is about knowing your opponent's move before they ding you. And so you don't watch the ball, you watch the person. The same thing with mortgages. You don't watch the sellers, you don't watch the market, you watch what the smarter people are doing, what Goldman Sachs, what Chase, what Berkshire Hathaway, and all these other guys are doing. And when they're positioning themselves for a bear market, meaning the market's done and it's going down, I mean, the physical piggy bank takes precedence. That's recession proof. And what
Yep.
better than to put your money in a physical asset that we know based off of economics is not going down anytime soon. Maybe in like 5 years, we keep going up, man, we'll see a little dip. But what are you going to do over the next 48 months? You just going to sit and pay rent? Nah, that's not
Yep.
smart.
Not smart. Hey, I got to do a little shout out to my studio man, Kevin Hansen, in the background because I want him to grab a hammer for me for my dodgeball so we can throw it at the other guy like in the movie. That's how we play over here. Sorry, off tangent. That I'm good at that.
Is that what it's called? The dodgeball guy when he's like, guy's name?
I don't remember, but he was funny as heck.
Oh man,
So,
with this little bandana.
yep. And the old guy was throwing hammers at people and wrenches.
We're dodging uncertainty. That's what
We
we're
are
doing.
dodging some uncertainty for sure. I love all your anecdotes there. That's awesome, Anthony. All right, what else you got new? What else is happening out there in the land of plenty, beautiful sunshine, fruits and wonderful vegetables?
Yeah, it's we live on a micro economy, not a macro. So we're kind of insulated from the rest of the chaos on the mainland. What I mean by that is, you know, when the middle class, if there's any of you guys left out there, when the middle class actually is doing well, they come to the island, and so life is good and things are really good. And then when you have the elites and the one percenters, they love coming to the island as well. So we just have a constant, rotating disc of people coming in. And it is tourist based, because everyone wants to, come to Hawaii. But there's more to Hawaii than that. And the real estate here it's very hot, and especially like Oahu and the Big Island and Maui. I'm on Kauai, so we're a little bit more sleepier. We get out of bed around 9 o'clock in the morning and start getting our joints good at like 10. And if there's a good surf, then you won't see us the whole day. Yeah,
I know you're pulling me a leg right now because I know how hard you work over there.
right. Oh,
You know?
it's the market is good. It's solid and it's stable, and there's no one selling because they took advantage of the past couple of years. If anything, they're afraid for their clients because they know that as these rates come down, there's going to be less and less opportunity for people to score because there's going to be more competition. So all of these open houses that I'm having with agents, they're just like, man, I hope this inventory changes. And then they come to people like me and go, Anthony, when do you think it's going to change? I'm like, we're going to have to see rates in the fours for people to get up and say, all right, I'll divest on this property and go somewhere else. But why would they do that when the rates are in the sixes, even in the five?
I think that if we see five handles, it could change it because people have sat long enough and realized that there's opportunity for them still to improve, get on the elevator up. So they're going to remove themselves from their $400,000 house and buy that $600,000 house now, which is what we've always done. We've always taken the elevator right up and, continued to increase our base asset so it can increase accordingly.
Here's the most important thing of this podcast right now. People are so used to what has happened, which was literally overnight. We woke up and we're like, oh, hey, Mr. 2.2%, and it's like, and we had a lot of inventory. So we're just like, we got low rates, we got a lot of inventory, life is good, stimulus, everything is great, even though, we're maxed up. That's not going to happen on this boomerang. It is
Yep.
going to be slow go. It is going to be methodical. We're talking 3 to 5 years, not 3 to 5 months. So if anyone's just waiting to wait up to go, I can't wait till rates go back down to the fours next month. And I get clients all the time. They're like, hey, are they back down? I saw the rates are down and they're down to the fours, the threes. It's like, you're talking an eighth. You're talking like
Yeah.
a tenth of a point. It's
Yeah.
going to take years to get out of this mess. So you don't want to be that guy that's the last one to the party. That's like when everyone else has already got their pajamas. It's like you want to be the first one. It's called being ahead of the curve. You want to be ahead of the curve. And for all the listeners out there right now, if you're looking to purchase within the next 5 years, the next 6 months are going to be the most economical. And every single month chunk after that is going to be less economical until you're just like every Joe Schmo. So you don't take my word for it. Look at the facts and look at the statistics.
Yep. So the big takeaway is the market's a little volatile right now. It's not broken. It's bouncing around a little bit, but hey, that doesn't mean don't get in the game. Take your opportunity. You're not buying rate today. You're buying wealth. You're trying to get yourself in that physical piggy bank that we're talking about and move forward. Avoid the rental rut and get yourself out there in the game. That's
And this is what I want to tell the listeners too. Don't you ever let fear dictate your output. I mean, that's in life in general, like unless it's like ice cream, because I know I'm like, if I take too many scoops, I'm going to get brain freeze. That's just known. But what I'm saying is, you do not let fear dictate what you do and what your outcome is. Because if you let that happen, then your perception is based off of other people's insecurities. You need to make sure that the decisions or the indecisions that you're making are based off of sound information, not off of fear. So, anyone listening to this right now, if you're not buying a house or you're not even looking out wanting to buy a house or even understanding it out of fear, there's your sign. You need to understand it better. I'll take it if you go, Anthony, I don't want to buy now because this. Okay, awesome. But if you say I don't want to buy now because, CMM or Fox News, tells you this, or, Twitter or X or Instagram or Facebook or Meta tell you this, that is not the right answer. So just get educated, get confident, and make decisions based off of sound info, not out of fear.
perfect. Well said. We're going to build confidence in all these people, and that's what we're all about here on this Mortgage 101 podcast. And we're going to keep putting these out and trying to give information to people, and hopefully you feel educated and more confident about what you're doing, and pick up the phone and talk to somebody, talk to a professional, check your facts, go from there. But
Yeah.
looking forward to seeing you guys again. And Appreciate you guys being here at the Mortgage 101. Look for us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple. It's coming to you soon. It's out. And really appreciate Kevin Hansen here, our studio man in the background, who gets to be unseen. Grizzly's our security guard. He's over by the door guarding some pizza that I think was delivered. That's what's happening here at Red Rooster Studios. But appreciate you, Anthony, for jumping on tonight, and looking forward to the next time.
You got it, brother.
Aloha.
Aloha, brother.
Peace out.